You ever stop and think about the invisible energy that's, well, everywhere? It's not some kind of magic, it's just physics. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most fundamental processes in the entire universe, nuclear decay. Believe it or not, right now, we're all swimming in a sea of low-level radiation. I mean, it's seeping out from deep within the Earth's crust, and it's streaming down on us from space, shot out from our very own sun. It's just a constant, totally natural part of our world. So, that leads to the big question, right? What exactly is this invisible force? And what's the tiny, tiny engine that's driving it all? Well, that is exactly what we're here to figure out. To answer that, we've got to understand where it all comes from. And it all gets started deep, deep inside the atom. The whole idea of radiation, the whole shebang, it really boils down to one simple concept: unstable atoms. See, some atoms are perfectly balanced, totally chill, but a lot of others, they're not. They've got way too much energy, maybe too many particles, and they are just desperate to find a more stable, calmer state. And that's where nuclear decay comes into play. It's basically the atom's solution to its little instability problem. By literally throwing off extra energy and particles, which is what we call radiation, an unstable atom tries to turn itself into a more balanced, stable version. It's just a natural process of change. But how does an atom actually do this? Well, it turns out it has a few different ways it can release all that pent-up energy. So let's break them down. So way back in 1896, a scientist named Henri Becquerel kind of stumbled upon this whole thing by accident. And as people studied it more, they realized this radiation wasn't just one thing. Nope, it came in three distinct flavors, which they called alpha, beta, and gamma. Think of these three as the main characters in our story today. And each of these types of radiation has a totally unique personality, a different size, a different speed, and a different way of interacting with the world around it. So let's meet them one by one. First up, we've got the alpha particle. I like to think of this one as the bowling ball. It's this heavy, chunky particle, basically a helium nucleus with 2 protons and 2 neutrons. It's big, it's powerful, but as we're about to see, it runs out of steam really, really quickly. But for all its size, this bowling ball is surprisingly easy to stop. I mean, because it's so big and clunky, it just can't muscle its way through much. A single sheet of paper will stop it cold. Heck, even the dead outer layer of your own skin is more than enough to block it. But here's the crazy part. While it's totally harmless on the outside of your body, the alpha particle is the absolute most dangerous type of radiation if you breathe it in or swallow it. Inside your body, that big old bowling ball just smashes into your delicate cells, causing a ton of damage. It's what we call a strong ionizer, which is a fancy way of saying it's really, really good at messing up your cells. Okay, next up is the beta particle. Let's call this one the bullet. It's really just a super high-speed electron. It's way smaller and way faster than our bowling ball, which of course gives it a completely different set of skills. So unlike the bowling ball, this bullet can zip right through a piece of paper and actually get into the deeper living layers of your skin. And that's where it can do some damage, kind of like a really bad sunburn, but it's still pretty easy to stop. A thin piece of wood or even a couple layers of aluminum foil will do the trick. And finally, we need the gamma ray, our ghost. Now this isn't really a particle in the same way. It's a photon, pure energy. It has no mass, no charge, and it moves at the speed of light. And as you can probably guess, that makes it incredibly difficult to pin down. Yeah, this ghost is incredibly hard to stop. A gamma ray can shoot straight through a person without even slowing down. To shield yourself from them, you need some seriously dense materials, like a few inches of solid lead or even several feet of concrete. So an atom spits out a particle. It becomes more stable. Great. But what happens to the atom itself after that? This is where things get, well, truly mind-blowing. Because the atom doesn't just lose some energy, it can change its entire identity. The process is called transmutation. And we're not just talking about losing a little bit of energy here. The atom fundamentally changes who it is. By losing protons from its core, an atom of one element literally becomes an atom of a completely different element. It's like real-life alchemy. Let's look at a real-world example. So here we have an atom of radon, which has 86 protons. It spits out an alpha particle, remember our bowling ball, which has 2 protons. So what's left behind?
an atom with 84 protons. And if you look at the periodic table, the element with 84 protons is polonium, just like that. Radon is gone, and in its place is polonium.
And this is almost never a one-and-done deal. A really heavy, unstable element like uranium-238 will go through a whole cascade of these decays. It's called a decay series. It'll transmute from one element to the next, and so on, shedding particles and energy all the way down until it finally reaches a stable, happy state as an atom of lead.
Okay, so we've met our three main characters, the bowling ball, the bullet, and the ghost. And we've seen the incredible transformations they cause. So let's just put it all together in a quick summary. So here's the bottom line. You've got the alpha particle, our bowling ball, super low penetration, but extremely dangerous if it gets inside you. Then there's the beta particle, our bullet. Medium penetration, medium risk, can definitely cause skin damage. And finally, the gamma ray, our ghost. Insanely high penetration, but it's a weak ionizer, so it's mainly dangerous in really, really high doses. And this quote right here just perfectly explains why that alpha particle is such a menace internally. Because it's so big, its chances of crashing into your cells are super high. And every one of those collisions causes damage, which is exactly why we call it a strong ionizer. And all of this leaves us with a really interesting thought. We've got these amazing forces of nature. One that's big and powerful but easily stopped, and others that are light and fast but almost impossible to stop. So the real question becomes, how can we harness these unique powers for good? For things like medicine, or creating energy, or exploring the universe? What do you think?